In this video, today we'll talk about whether humans have really ever been to the moon, or if it was all fake. Because a lot of conspiracies have come up around this. In the past this has been discussed on many forums. And you've probably seen that very popular video, where the flag appears to be waving on the moon.
Salam friends, July 20th, 1969 Apollo 11 mission's lunar module lands on the moon. Inside it are astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. Out of them you all know Neil Armstrong because he was the first person to step on the moon. Later in this video I'll also tell you the name of a third astronaut who was part of the Apollo 11 mission. After the landing, Neil Armstrong tries to open the door to get down on the moon. Opening the door wasn't that easy because the pressure was very high. So they had to face some difficulty there. And after some time they succeeded in doing it. Friends, now a new problem comes up. The suit they were wearing was very heavy and bulky while the exit space was a bit tight in proportion to it. Because of that, a piece attached to the backside of their suit, a part of the lunar module, breaks off. Since we know that there's no medium on the moon, like no air, sound waves don't travel. Because of that, both of them couldn't know that it broke. And the piece that broke, it was a very important machine which is called the ascent engine arming switch. It was so important that without it they could not come back to Earth. But still, in that state of unawareness, they step on the moon for the first time and become the first humans to set foot on the moon. But did it really happen? Even after more than 50 years, people still doubt whether humans really went to the moon, while people from all walks of life present different theories. That Apollo 11 was just an American drama filmed in a studio like a Hollywood movie. And a lie was told to the whole world. How is this flag waving on the moon when there's no air? So what's the truth behind all of this? What was the real motivation behind this idea to go to the moon in the first place? For that, we'll have to look back into history.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Houston, we see you on a steerable, over. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant.
This was a Cold War that was going on between America and the Soviet Union. In reality, there was a race between the two countries which we call the space race. In the beginning, Russia was ahead in this race when they launched their first satellite in 1957. It was called Sputnik, and it was the first man-made object sent into Earth's orbit. Seeing this, America got burned, meaning they got worried. How did the Soviet Union get ahead of them? In response, America also launched its own satellite in 1958. But in 1961, America gets a huge shock. An astronaut named Yuri Gagarin becomes the first person to go into space. And once again, Russia gets ahead in the race. Just 1 week later, on April 20th, 1961, American President John F. Kennedy writes a letter to his vice president. How can we beat the Soviets? By putting a laboratory in space? Or a trip around the moon? Are we using the full 24 hours of the day for our program? If not, then why not? Are we making a full effort? What kind of space program can we launch quickly? One that gives America not just dramatic results, but also puts us at #1 in this race. In this mental struggle, they find the answer. And somehow they realize that the next step will be a human stepping on the moon. On May 25th, 1961, in a public speech, he makes a promise that before this decade ends, America will become the first country to reach the moon. And not just that, the team they send to the moon, they'll also bring them back to Earth safely.
Before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Friends, looking at today's scientific progress, saying something like this may not sound too abnormal now. But in 1961, when there were no mobile phones, no internet, and not even any GPS system, making such a big claim was truly something that shocked the world. Now NASA's entire team joins together and starts working on this mission. And shortly after that, a phase of testing begins in which many rockets and shuttles are sent into space. But in the beginning, there were no humans inside them. The very first invention needed was to find a heat-resistant material for the command shield, one that could help the rocket break through Earth's boundary. After the command module's heat shield, the service module, which is also part of the rocket, needed its propulsion system to be taken to the next level. Because breaking Earth's gravity wasn't an easy task. So sir, this testing phase continues for the next 4 years from 1963 to 1967. In all those tests, no humans are involved. In February 1967, they planned their first manned test where astronauts would sit inside the rocket and go into space. And this mission is named Apollo 1. But unfortunately, while they are practicing this mission on the ground, a fire breaks out in the cabin. And the 3 astronauts selected for Apollo 1, they die in that accident. But even after that, NASA doesn't give up. And until Apollo 6, the missions that follow, they are once again unmanned, meaning no astronauts are present. In October 1968, once again, a manned mission is launched. And for the first time, humans are successfully sent into space by America. Then comes Apollo 8, in which 3 astronauts are sent close to the moon, but they don't land on it. 3 months later, in March 1969, the lunar module is tested, in which a part of the spacecraft is supposed to land on the moon. And exactly 2 months after that, in May 1969, once again 3 astronauts are selected and they are put through every training required for Apollo 11. But in this mission, they won't land on the moon either. Here's something worth noting: NASA's speed of evolution had picked up pace rapidly, with a new mission being launched every 2 to 3 months. On the other hand, if we look at the speech made by the American president that they would reach the moon before the end of this decade, maybe by now there wasn't much time left. On July 19, 1969, finally the Apollo 11 mission is launched.
2, 1, 0, all engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
38-year-old Commander Neil Armstrong was leading this mission. The command module pilot was Michael Collins. He is the 3rd person I hinted at in the beginning of this video. And the lunar module pilot was Buzz Aldrin, who landed on the moon along with Neil Armstrong. The Apollo 11 spacecraft had 3 main parts: the command module, the service module, and the lunar module. The first 2 parts together are referred to as CSM, Command and Service Module. And out of all 3, only the lunar module was the part that would detach and land on the moon. And during the return journey, the same lunar module would reattach to the CSM from which the return trip to Earth was planned. To launch the spacecraft, the Saturn V rocket was used. Before launch, it was loaded with 1 million gallons of kerosene, liquid oxygen, and liquid hydrogen. The total weight of this rocket became 3,050,000 kilograms. And in just 10 minutes, this rocket carried the spacecraft into Earth's orbit. After completing 1.5 orbits of Earth, they received permission for translunar injection. But in reality, it took several days to reach the moon. During this time, the astronauts kept themselves busy. They ate, exercised, and took pictures. On July 19, 1969, after traveling 4 lakh kilometers, the spacecraft reached the moon's orbit. And here the lunar module separated from the CSM module.
But only Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got the chance to walk on the moon. Michael Collins didn't. And maybe that's the reason why most people don't really know his name. As the spacecraft re-entered the atmosphere, its parachutes deployed, and then it landed in the ocean. That's what made the flag appear to wave. A question was raised: why don't we see any stars in the background of the photos taken by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon?